Hello students, today we will learn about the new chapter that is our forests. A forest is a large area covered with a thick growth of trees, shrubs, herbs, grasses, creepers and climbers. The types of the plants found in different forests vary depending on the climatic conditions of the region the forest is situated in. The branches of a tree above the trunk from the crown of the tree. Different trees have crowns of different types and size. The crowns of the tall trees together form a roof over other plants called a canopy. A thick canopy does not allow sunlight to come in. It is therefore quite dark inside the thick forest, such as a tropical rainforest. In a forest, the plants that grow in the shade of the canopy form the understory. There are different layers in the understory. Below the tall trees are smaller trees, below which the shrubs and the tall trees. The herbs from the lowest layer. The forest floor consists of the soil covered with dead and decaying leaves, flowers, and fruits, seeds, twigs, herbs, as well as animal droppings. It provides favorable condition for seed to germinate. Many of these grow up into trees. This is the structure of the forest. The types of the animals found in a forest also differ according to the climatic conditions in which the forest is situated. A large number of mammals such as monkeys, deer, elephants, bear, and jackals, reptiles such as snakes, lizards, crocodiles, amphibians such as the frogs, toads, insects such as ants and beetles, birds, spiders, millipedes, fish, and several types of microorganisms are found in plenty. The next topic we will cover that is the forest wealth. Forests are a very important renewable resource. They are useful in the following ways. Prevent floods and maintain the water table. Rainwater falls on the leaves of the trees and plants and then drips slowly onto the forest floor. Thus, water does not collect the stagnant on the forest floor. This prevents flooding. The water is able to seep into the soil and helps to recharge the water table. Prevent soil erosion. The roots of the plants bind the soil particles together and prevent the soil erosion and thus maintain the fertility of the soil. Soil erosion is also prevented because raindrops do not fall directly on the forest floor with full force. Next thing that is they supply oxygen. Plants in the forest release oxygen during photosynthesis. This provides all animals, including us, with oxygen to breathe and helps to maintain the ratio of oxygen to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That is why forests are called green lungs. Absorb carbon dioxide. If amount of carbon dioxide increases in an atmosphere, it would result in increase in the earth's temperature. Plants in the forest take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis. Hence, they help to maintain the right amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They cool the air and increase rainfall also. Plants in the forest absorb water from the soil and release it into the air through transpiration. This increases the amount of water vapor in the air and helps in the cloud formation. This ultimately causes an increase in the rainfall. The increased amount of water vapor in the atmosphere also cools the surrounding. provide food and shelter for wildlife. Forests provide the best habitat for the various kinds of the wild animals. A large variety of the plants grow in the forest. This provides food for a variety of herbivores. This means increased availability of food for a large variety of carnivores. All animals depend directly or indirectly on the plants for their food. Animals depend on the plants for the shelter and safety. Most birds make their nests on the branches of the trees. Monkeys, apes, bats live on the trees. Some insects such as the caterpillar, ladybird, butterfly, moth, grasshopper and firefly find shelter among the plants. Now the forest products. We get many things from the forest. Forests yield valuable products such as the timber, wood pulp that is used for the making of paper also. Turpentine, latex for the manufacture of the rubber, oils, spices, resin, gum, etc. Such as the lac and medicinal plants such as neem, holy basil that is tulsi and the foxglove and rosy pinkill give us medicines also. Plants also depend on animals. Not only the plants help animals in their survival, but animals living in the forest also help the plants to the forest to grow. Some animals such as the butterfly, honeybee, hummingbird, bat and moth help flowers in pollination. Without pollination, flowering plants cannot form seeds and hence cannot reproduce. Animals also help in dispersal of seeds. Several seeds or fruits have hair or spines on them. These stick to the animal's skin or the fur and are carried to the long distances. Animal excreta and their dead bodies add nutrients to the soil. So, they act as the manure and provide minerals for the plant growth. The living organisms that make up the biotic components of an environment can be divided into three groups depending on how they obtain their food. So, these are producers, consumers, and decomposers. You know that the green plants make their own food from carbon dioxide and water using the energy of sunlight. Organisms that can make their own food are called producers. They also called autotrophs. Auto means self and trophs means food. That means they can produce their own food by themselves. Some organisms depend directly or indirectly on the food prepared by the plants. They are called consumers or the heterotrophs. All animals, including human beings, are consumers. Herbivores, such as cow, deer, and goat, are the animals that eat plants. They get their food directly from the plants. Such animals are known as primary consumers. Next one is the carnivores, such as tiger, wolf, eat other animals. They thus get their food indirectly from the plants. They are called secondary consumers. Humans are omnivores. They consume both plants and animals. The bear and the crow are also omnivores. Some animals help us in keeping our environment clean. They consume dead animals and dispose them off. They are called scavengers. Crows, jackals, hyenas, and vultures are scavengers. Bacteria and fungi are very small organisms that cannot be seen with the naked eyes. These are known as microorganisms. They are consumers that feed mainly on the dead remains of the plants and animals and are called decomposers. The nutrients that producers green plants absorb from the soil are passed on to all type of consumers. When a producer or a consumer dies, Bacteria and fungi act to break down or decompose the material of its dead body into the nutrient substances it was made up of. These nutrients return to the soil from where they came and mix with it. Thus, the decomposers serve as a very useful purpose of maintaining the balance of the nutrients in the soil by returning the nutrients to it. In this way, nature recycles the nutrients that have been taken from the soil. This is very important since the total amount of these nutrients does not change. So, what has been taken away must put back for the life cycle to continue. Mushrooms, which are also fungi but are not microscopic in size, are also decomposers. Next topic is food chain. A grasshopper eats green plants, a frog eats the grasshopper, the frog is eaten by a snake, and the snake is eaten by an eagle. The chain of the events mentioned above is just one example of many food chains existing in nature. Who eats what in the environment makes up a food chain? The different levels of the food chain are called trophic levels. The study of the food chain shows us the interdependence of the various organisms in the environment. A typical food chain is grassland is grass that is eaten by the deer and deer is eaten by the lion. A typical food chain is in a pond is algae that is eaten by a small fish and small fish is eaten by large fish. So these are the another examples. Flow of energy in our food chain. The sun is the ultimate source of the energy for everything on the planet. Green plants or the producers are able to harness the energy of the sun to make food. In a food chain, energy from the plants producers is passed on from one organism to another. From the producers, the energy goes to the primary consumers that are also called herbivores and is then passed on to the secondary consumer that are also known as carnivores. Thus, producers are always at the beginning of the food chain. The role of the decomposers comes when the plants and the animals die. Now the next topic is food web. The food chains that have been described earlier are very simple. There are animals other than the grasshopper that eat plants. There are also animals other than the snake that eat frogs. Peacocks eat snakes as well. Thus, we have several food chains in nature that are connected to each other and form a web similar to the one made by a spider. Food webs shows how many animals are interconnected by the different parts. Now balance in nature. Suppose all peacocks are removed from the earth. What will happen to the snake population? Naturally, their number will increase. More snakes will eat more frogs, and the population of frogs will decrease. This will cause the increase in the grasshopper population. They will eat more plants, including crops, and there will be a food shortage. Even humans will be affected by this. Fortunately, such things seldom happen in the nature. Nature maintains the population of each species of animals in sufficient numbers to maintain a balance. That is why we say that to kill and to be killed, to grow and to die and get composed is a law of nature. It is due to the activities of the balance is maintained. Forest conservation. As our need for a land for housing and farming and that for wood for fuel and construction grow, we cut down more and more forest. This is known as deforestation. This has a harmful impact on the environment. as there is a constant need to manage forest carefully to conserve them. Plant harvesting. An efficient way to get wood from the forest for our requirement is to cut only some of the trees in an area. The uncut trees prevent erosion. Fruits of these trees produce seeds so that new trees can grow. This way, the forest cover is maintained. Afforestation. This is the practice of renewing a forest by planting seedlings or small trees. These days in our country, plant afforestation is being done not only by the government but also private organization for commercial purposes. Selective cutting of the trees in these plantations provide wood for construction and also keeps the forest cover intact. Protection from fire. Huge forest areas are destroyed by the fire every year. Fire may occur due to the carelessness of people or due to the lightning during a storm or by friction between dry stems and dry branches of the trees. Forest fires are controlled by spraying fire extinguishers or solutions from the aircrafts or by changing the direction of the wind by using strong blowers. Protection from the insects and the pests. Other important causes for the forest destruction are insects and pests. Methods of controlling diseases in the forest include removing infected trees and using insecticides and fungicides. Insects and pests can be efficiently controlled by natural insect predators. They kill insects in the large numbers. Protection from the overgrazing. Overgrazing by cattle, sheep, horses, etc. not only destroys grasslands but also trees in the forest. The young trees are either eaten up or they are trampled. The lower leaves are eaten up and the roots and the trunks are injured. Overgrazing must therefore be prevented to save forests.